Good morning. This is the NYNJPA weather special weather discussion on Hurricane Irene that will take pretty much coverage all the way through this coming weekend. Now, it is currently August 26, 2011, 9:35 a.m., and this is the latest infrared satellite picture of Hurricane Irene. I'm going to put this into motion, and you can see, if it stops rocking here, that Irene had gone through a little bit of weakening over the past 10 hours. What basically happened was this area of dry air worked into the center of Irene and disrupted the circulation just a little bit, enough to reduce winds to 110 miles per hour. Do not let your guard down. If you notice the last few frames of Irene has started to expand once again, and the circulation is very well developed, and there is very little shear. The outflow is very well developed, the inflow is well developed. Irene is a large hurricane, and it is expanding in size. Now, does that mean it'll intensify in strength? Well, I want to show you something with the visible satellite picture that just came out. This is the center of Irene. Notice that the eye wall is starting to solidify. We're starting to get a little bit of an eye here. And the fact of the matter is that Irene is going to be moving through what we call the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a very warm body of water. Now, we have very weak shear, if no shear at all. We have very warm water, and we have very favorable conditions as far as the ejection of dry air. I think that Irene still has a significant potential to intensify. And I mean intensify significantly over the next 12 hours. And it's going to have to be monitored. The fact of the matter is that hurricanes are very difficult to forecast for when it comes to strength. A little bit of dry air can knock down the strength very easily. On the flip side, something like the Gulf Stream could actually lead to hurricanes and tropical systems in general to intensify and develop even when you think that the atmospheric conditions aren't all that favorable. In this situation, the atmospheric conditions are favorable, and this water is very warm in the mid 80s to even a few lower 90s in some pockets in the water in this area right here, which Hurricane Irene happens to be moving right towards and will remain over through today, into tonight, and into tomorrow morning. If you are in the southern portions of North Carolina, I would strongly stress to not let your guard down with this hurricane. Yes, it weakened a little bit. It's a Category 2 hurricane. It weakened only 5 miles per hour. It's not like as if it collapsed. And it won't take much to get Hurricane Irene back to a Category 3 strength. So, with that in mind, let's go take a look at my favorite satellite product, the Water Vapor Satellite Picture. And this is the latest image. And again, our old cold front has gone stationary. Notice the trough is pretty much leaving it behind. This frontal boundary will disintegrate. Our hurricane, the upper level features, the anticyclone on top of this hurricane, is just expanding in coverage. It's very impressive. And in fact, the exiting trough is starting to enhance the outflow pattern on the northern side of Irene, which should also help to allow Irene to strengthen over the next several hours. So all of these factors are coming together to support favorable conditions for intensification through at least tomorrow morning. Here is our next trough. This is a trough that will start to turn Irene more towards the north-northeast as it's moving along the mid-Atlantic coast through the New Jersey coastal waters and through parts of western Long Island. Now, there's a difference between me and the National Hurricane Center. It's a slight difference, but it's a difference nonetheless. On the storm track, they are a little bit east, and I'm a little bit closer to New York City. The question really lies in just how deep this trough will be on Saturday night into Sunday. Now, the model guys have repeatedly made these troughs a little bit deeper than what we've seen in reality. And as a result, I'm a little bit hesitant of trying to push Irene further east. I would love if Irene just decided to take a quick left hook and head right out into the Atlantic, I think a lot of lives would be saved, property would be saved, obviously, and everyone would be better off. And I would love to forecast that, but that's not going to happen. And the fact of the matter is that this trough, even now, is weaker than forecasted on many of the model guides. I think the best model guides that has this trough handled is the European model guidance, which I've been following. And for the most part, the European model guidance takes a very strong hurricane up along the New Jersey coast and through just to the east of New York City and into southern New England, which is basically my forecast right now. So I really don't see much of a reason to change the forecast right now. And again, the atmospheric conditions right now are very favorable for intensification over the next 12 to 24 hours. Just want to also bring up point. This is the latest observations from the Severe Prediction Center as far as the 500 millibar pattern. And again, you can see that the strongest wind streak, jet streak at 500 millibars is located well to the north, mostly in Canada. And quite frankly, I expect that to continue to be the case as we move forward into this weekend, with the strongest jet streak with this disturbance remaining over the St. Lawrence River Valley and really not having a significant impact on Irene until Irene reaches portions of southern New England. So clearly we are dealing with a dangerous situation. So let me take a look at our forecast. Again, for the most part, the forecast since Wednesday morning has not changed from NY and JPA weather. Irene is pretty much on track within a reasonable area of error. It's pretty much on track from the forecast from Wednesday, which is right here. And this is the current forecast, and that's a little bit wider. It's in red. And you can see that I have it moving through eastern North Carolina. And the forecast here is as of Saturday, 11 p.m., I expect Irene to be a major hurricane. I reduced the wind strength from 135 to 125. However, again, hurricanes can be very, let's just say, fickle, and they can surprise you with rapid intensification. On the flip side, just a little bit of dry air can cause a hurricane to weaken without, much notice or model support. So we're going to have to keep a really close eye on this hurricane as it's moving up the coast. It's not like a typical nor'easter, let's say, where you kind of have the idea of what the storm strength will be, and then you just go forward. Hurricanes, especially approaching the southeast coast with all this warm water off the North Carolina coast, can and have been known to rapidly intensify. So we're going to keep a careful eye on that. But here we are on Saturday night, and Irene's making landfall along the North Carolina coast. And then into Sunday morning, I expect Irene to basically move right along the Mid-Atlantic coast, moving right along the Delmarva Peninsula, just off the coast. By Sunday morning, it's approaching the Delaware Bay and approaching portions of Atlantic City. At 8 a.m., I have Irene weakening from a major hurricane at 110 miles per hour, but still, Irene's going to be a significant problem and a major hurricane, as major hurricane impacts for southern New Jersey. Just because Irene will be weakening does not mean it is not a significant storm. And because of the size of Irene, all locations throughout the northern Mid-Atlantic will be impacted by this hurricane one way or another. Obviously, over portions of eastern Pennsylvania, you'll be more likely to see tropical storm force winds. But even with those winds, you're going to have to deal with very heavy rainfall. And considering rainfall amounts are well above normal already, flash flooding is almost a near certainty across eastern Pennsylvania. For New Jersey, obviously the western side of New Jersey, expect close to hurricane force winds anywhere from 65 to 85 miles per hour throughout the day on Sunday. The worst conditions for southern New Jersey will be from roughly 5 a.m. to about noon, and then conditions will start to slowly back off and start to improve throughout the late afternoon hours into the evening hours as Irene lifts north and east. Now, still, you're going to be dealing with also very heavy rainfall, anywhere from 6 to as much as 12 inches of rain. And of course, along the coast, and this includes New York City and Long Island, The major problems here will be coastal flooding. Storm surge is going to be a problem here. Anywhere from 2 feet to some models are even putting out as high as 10 feet. I think that will be an extreme case of 10 feet, and we'll have to depend not only on the timing of Irene, but also the strength and probably also the orientation of your bay in certain locations. So clearly, we're going to be dealing with coastal flooding throughout the New Jersey coast and into the Battery of New York City and the southern side of Long Island. Look for winds anywhere from 75 to 100 miles per hour with higher gusts, and of course, again, very heavy rainfall. If there's one thing that the entire northern Mid-Atlantic can expect is very heavy rainfall and widespread flash flooding. Do not drive in these conditions. And of course, in Connecticut, the hurricane will be weakening, probably reaching tropical, downgrading down to tropical storm strength, but do not let your guard down, as Irene will still be capable again of very heavy rainfall, and wind gusts, winds sustained are going to be anywhere from 40 to 65 miles per hour as it's moving into Connecticut and continuing to weaken. So Irene clearly is going to pose a significant threat throughout the entire northern Atlantic. This is not a situation where the media is overstating the impacts of this hurricane. This is a dangerous hurricane. It's a large hurricane. And remember, these type of winds can produce significant damage. So do not take this storm lightly. I will have live coverage of this hurricane on Twitter, Facebook, and of course at nynjpaweather.com. Stay with me and nynjpaweather.com for the latest information. I'm your meteorologist, Steven DiMartino. Stay safe.